5 things that Canon isn't telling you about the EOS R10. Welcome to Fulan Creative YouTube channel, where we do gear reviews, tips, tricks, and how-tos for creative professionals and entrepreneurs. I'm sure many of you have heard the term, the Canon cripple hammer. If you haven't, let me break it down for you. When Canon hits you with the cripple hammer, what they've done is they've taken out certain features out of your camera that should be there. Most of the cameras in the same price range from other manufacturers include those features and even more features, but Canon decided to take it out. Why? Nobody really knows, but more than likely, it's to give you an incentive to buy their more expensive cameras. And in the case of the R10, one of the features that they smashed with the cripple hammer is C-Log. They included it in the R7, which is about $600 more than the R10. But what Canon doesn't want you to know is that there's a company called Technicolor, and they released a flat picture profile that's similar to C-Log, and it's called CineStyle. It's gonna help boost your dynamic range and also give you the flexibility you need in color grading. Now I'm gonna leave a link down below to my website, fulancreative.com, where you could get CineStyle, and you can also purchase my LUT pack and presets that are going to save you a lot of time and give you beautiful results when color grading your footage or editing your photos. Now moving on to the next thing that Canon isn't telling you. Now you know how some of Canon's cinema cameras like the C70 have something called internal NDs? The reason they only have those in their expensive cinema cameras is because it's such a professional feature. But what they did for the rest of us that can't afford one of them $6,000 cinema cameras is that they made a drop-in ND filter, allowing you to get shallow depth of field and beautiful footage regardless of how bright the sun is. And the benefit to having a drop-in ND filter is that it sits on your camera and you can attach any lens to it, so you don't have to worry about buying multiple filters for your various different lenses. So it's pretty much like having built-in internal NDs, but the only thing is that it's $500. But what Canon doesn't want you to know is that there's a company called Mikey, or Miki, I don't know how to pronounce it, and they make a variable drop-in ND filter as well. And I've been using this for a few months and it's amazing. So once you attach this to your camera, you can use EF and EFS lenses, and not only do they give you the variable ND filter, but they also give you a clear filter, which Canon charges an additional $100 for. And the results that you get from this little bad boy are just as good as the Canon one. The main difference being that it's only $150. Links are in the description. If you're enjoying the video so far, make sure you subscribe and hit that little bell icon so that you're notified when I put out new videos. So moving along, as you already probably know, this is a crop sensor APS-C camera. So what that means for you is that whatever lens you put on this camera, in actuality, you're not getting that focal length. So let's say you put a 22mm lens, it's not really gonna be a 22mm, it's gonna be zoomed in 1.6 times, which is gonna give you 35mm. And if you're new to all this, it could be quite confusing, because that means if you buy a lens that's designed for APS-C cameras and it literally says 22mm on it, it's still not going to give you 22mm and it's going to give you 35. Now this could be great when you're in a situation where you want to punch in, where you want to be closer to your subject, such as wildlife, sports, birding, etc. The problem arises for situations where you need a wide angle shot, like vlogging, landscapes, real estate, or even talking headshots like this. And that's the main reason people prefer full frame cameras, because it's easier to get a wide shot. Now what Canon has done to help solve these problems for its crop sensor cameras is that it released a product called the focal reducer, also known as a speed booster. So what it is, it's a simple adapter that you're gonna attach to your camera, and that's gonna do a few things for you. Firstly, it's gonna allow you to use EF lenses, and that's gonna give you a much wider pool of high quality lenses to choose from, instead of just being stuck using these newer and more expensive RF lenses. The next and possibly the most important thing that it does is that it reduces that crop so that it's closer to a full frame camera. And the last thing that it does, which is quite impressive as well, is that it gives you an extra stop of light. So you don't have to crank your ISO up as high, and you're gonna get less noise in your image. And it also means that you're able to get a blurrier background. And yeah, it's pretty awesome that Canon makes a speed booster for their crop sensor cameras. But it's $600, which costs more than many of their cameras. But what Canon isn't telling you is that there's a company called Viltrox, which also makes a speed booster that works just as good as the Canon one and is half the price. I've been using it for a few months and it's awesome. I'm gonna leave Amazon links in the description below, but if you want to purchase this or anything else from the Viltrox store, you can get 10% off if you use the coupon code FULAN. So the next important thing that Canon probably doesn't want you to know is that Viltrox, the same company that I spoke about who made the speed booster, also makes an adapter to where you can use EF and EFS lenses on your RF mount. And it works great, including the autofocus. So why would you want to pay $270 for the Canon branded adapter when you could get the Viltrox one for 56 bucks? And the last thing that Canon isn't telling you about this camera is that although it is a new sensor, it's not stacked and it's not backside illuminated, whereas many of the cameras that are being released currently by other manufacturers are. And while that is kind of a big deal, what I strongly recommend that you do is watch this video right here, where I'm going to tell you about 5 inexpensive items that you could get that are going to help you overcome some of those challenges. And I'll see you guys in the next video. It's your boy Fulan and I'm out. Peace.